Hello and welcome to part 4 of our Fueling for Performance series. So today we're going to be looking at how to build a lunchbox for your training days. So there's 4 steps that we're going to look at. So firstly we're going to look at mapping out your day, mapping out your eating times, filling in your meals and snacks, and then looking at any other considerations. So again, we're going to touch on some of the modules that we looked at previously, so how to build your performance plate, strategic snacking, and then looking at timing of meals around your training. So make sure if you haven't already looked at those modules, look at those ones first and then come back to this one. So step 1, mapping out your day. So making sure that you're looking at what your school day looks like, when your training is, commutes to and from school, do you go home first before training or do you go straight to training, how long does it take you to get to those places, things like that. So if we look at this example, this person's going to get ready for school, then they're going to go to school, they've got 2 breaks, recess and lunch, then they drive straight to training from school, they train from 4 till 7 and then they go home. So then we'll move to step 2, which is map out your eating times. So we're going to highlight all the eating occasions across the day. So when will we have our meals and we have our snacks? In particular, looking at when we're eating away from the home, because that's going to be most crucial in this situation because we're building our lunchbox. So what food will we need to bring with us? In this example, I've highlighted when they're eating breakfast, but that would be at home. Then their first eating occasion away from the home is recess, then lunch. Then when they're driving to training, because they're not going home. And then also I've highlighted at home, even though they're going to eat dinner at home. All right, step 3, so filling in your meals and snacks. So remember looking at choosing balanced meals and the different types of snacks we need across the day. So looking at this example, in the morning they'll have their balanced breakfast. Then at recess they're going to choose a snack which will be an away from training snack. Then at lunchtime they're going to choose a balanced lunch. When they're going to training, that's going to be a pre-training snack. And then when they get home, they'll just have their balanced meal, which is dinner. They don't need a post-training snack because they're going to have their dinner pretty soon after their training. And then step 4, looking at any other considerations when building their lunchbox. So, for example, will you need to keep anything cold? So if so, will you have to bring an ice brick and an insulated bag to keep everything cool? Do you need to bring cutlery for anything? Does anything need to be heated up? Do you even have access to a microwave to heat it up? If not, maybe that isn't an appropriate meal to have. And then ease of eating. Do you have a chance to actually sit down and eat, or will you kind of be eating on the go? So we're now going to look at a bit of a specific example to see what this might look like. So we're going to look at Sally. We're going to build her lunchbox. So she is a sprint athlete. She's in year 9 and on Tuesdays she trains before and after school. So I've mapped out her day. So in the morning she does training. Then she'll drive straight from training to school. She'll do her period 1 and 2. She'll have her first break at recess, period 3 and 4, lunch, then 5 and 6. Then she'll drive straight from school to training. And then she'll train, and then she'll drive home from she'll drive home from training. So that's her day. So our step 2 is to highlight her eating occasions across the day, specifically looking at where she'll be eating away from the home. So if you want, pause the recording now, and I want you to highlight or write down how many or what occasions across the day will she be eating away from the home. I'll give you a clue. There should be 5 options here. There should be 5 occasions that she eats away from the home. Alright, so let's look at her eating occasions. So across the day, so away from the home, she needs to eat in the car. So after her morning training, she'll eat on the drive from training to school. Her second eating occasion is at recess, then lunch, then on the drive to training, and then the drive home from training. So I know not everyone will need to eat on their way home from training, but because she's had a pretty big day and the drive home from training is about an hour for her, I'm going to include a post-training snack just to start that recovery process. But when she gets home, she'll probably have her dinner. So it really only needs to be a high protein snack here. It doesn't need to have all 4 components because she'll get that in her dinner after. So let's look at what I want you to do now is I want you to pause the recording and I want you to fill in the types of meals and snacks she needs. So across the day, what are some examples of what she can have on the drive from training to school? What can she have at recess, lunch, before training, and then after training? Okay, so pause it now and use all of the skills you've been developing over these past few modules to fill in some examples of what she can have across the day. Alright, so we're going to look at what this might look like. So I've included that she's going to have a pre-training snack, but that's not highlighted because she can have that at home. Let's look at what she'll have in her lunchbox though, okay? So when she's driving from training to school, she needs a balanced meal. This is like her breakfast, but it needs to be a recovery meal, okay? Because she's going to be eating in the car, I've chosen like a grab and go option. So something that's just really convenient to eat on the way to school. She doesn't need to prepare anything. It's just a grab and go option. So we've got a Rugby Farm smoothie, which will give her lots of protein and some carbohydrates. A muesli bar, which will give her some more carbohydrates, and then some colour with the fruit. The Rugby Farm smoothie will also give her some fluid. So she's got her protein, her carbs, her colour, her fats or flavour in the products there, and then she's got fluid. Looking at her recess, this is a good opportunity to get an away from training snack in. So we've just got some carrot sticks and lightly salted popcorn. For lunch, we've got a balanced meal, so chicken and salad wrap. On her drive to training, this is her pre-training snack. So she's got less than an hour to have this. So we want carbohydrates only with some fluid. So I've chosen to give her a banana with a muesli bar just to get plenty of carbohydrates in. And then on the way home from training, again, we just want something small. She's going to have a meal when she gets home. So that's where her 4 components of the meal will be. So her protein, carbs, colour, and healthy fats or flavour. But because we just need a small snack, I've just chosen a protein yogurt just to get that protein in. Alright, so that brings us to the end of Module 4. I hope that you've learnt some different skills and some planning techniques to help you build your lunchbox for your training days. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to email me.